I'm going to arrest you for failing to provide a valid ticket to travel, okay? I've still got things to do today, obviously.
I'm not going to be pressured into giving people my details. I have a right not to have the right to privacy. I will not give people my details and you're pressuring me to do that. I don't believe you have a right to take my details until you arrest me.
Welcome back to Operation Audit, the channel dedicated to exposing police misconduct and promoting accountability wherever public officials overstep their authority. Today's footage comes from Alex Lennon, and you'll find a link to their channel in the description below. In this case, Alex finds himself at the center of what can only be described as an extraordinary arrest. After hurrying to catch his train, he is confronted by Muri Rail staff over his failure to produce a printed ticket, despite having already purchased his ticket online. What begins as something that should have been a straightforward dispute quickly spirals once British Transport Police become involved. Rather than treating the situation as a simple misunderstanding, one officer takes things considerably further, ultimately choosing to arrest Alex because he refuses to provide his personal details to the railway staff and security personnel.
But I paid the money.
You haven't. You can refund
I have paid the money.
You're not listening. You're shutting your mind. You're not open-minded.
So
you're just tunnel vision
what are you trying to tell me?
We'll let the police come. The British
We'll let the
Transport
British
Police.
Transport Police come.
We'll get your details.
Well, they will arrest. No, they will arrest me.
They'll get your details.
They will arrest me.
But you're not going to give them your details.
If they arrest me, then I will give them my details. I'm being denied exit from the station.
Right, have you purchased a ticket
Yes.
where you boarded the train?
I purchased the ticket and I can show evidence of that.
Right, have you printed that ticket off?
I wasn't able to get it printed, no.
Right, is there a reason why you were unable to get it printed
I was running
off?
for the train. I have to be in a really important meeting in Reading, and I had to run to get the train because it was going to cause me enormous problems if I didn't get that train and was delayed for that really important meeting in Reading.
Right.
And I thought, quite reasonably, that I've paid for a ticket.
Yeah.
I can prove I paid for a ticket. I can prove I've got the code for the ticket. And I literally, as I've said to these people, all I need to do is to go there to get that ticket and to show these people the ticket that I have purchased and paid for.
From the outset, there was little reason for this situation to go any further. Alex makes it clear that the fare has already been paid. The only issue is that he did not have enough time to print the ticket before rushing to catch his train. He has the purchase confirmation on his phone, including the booking reference, and there is even a ticket machine right beside him where the ticket could be printed immediately. At that point, there is a simple solution sitting right in front of everyone. Alex is not hiding anything or refusing to cooperate. He is openly showing evidence of payment and offering to verify the booking there and then. Under normal circumstances, the obvious response would be to check the details, confirm that the ticket had been purchased, and allow him to continue his journey. Instead, a situation that could have been resolved with a quick verification begins moving in a completely different direction, with what should have been a brief check developing into an escalation that seems entirely unnecessary.
I understand their reasoning. All I'm saying is I paid for a ticket, so my belief is that in law I can show I've had no intent to defraud anybody.
Yeah.
I haven't travelled this network trying to travel without a ticket, and I can evidence that. And so I did not intend to give these people my personal details. I don't believe they're empowered to take them, and I'm not going to give them to you. Should you, of course, arrest me, I will, of course, give you my personal details, and I will abide by the empowerment that you have. But I think, frankly, I can travel the country, I can go to Reading, I can go to Manchester, I can go all over the place, get a ticket, I can tap my phone on devices. It's only here in Liverpool that we seem to have this archaic system with these people who cause these problems for people who are just trying to pay for tickets and go about their daily business, minding their own business, which is all I'm trying to do.
Right, okay. Obviously, when you do purchase your ticket on the train line, you do have to tick to the terms and conditions that you have to print it off.
I don't know, nobody ever reads that stuff, do they?
I know, but unfortunately you do need, as you say, on this network here for Merseyrail, they do require you to have the said ticket printed off, ready for inspection at the gate or at the barriers here.
The officer attempts to support the decision by referring to Muri Rail's terms and conditions, arguing that Alex accepted the requirement to print the ticket when he completed the online purchase. Alex pushes back on that point, and there is some obvious context to consider. Most people do not sit and read every clause of an online agreement before completing a purchase. More importantly, Muri Rail's own website indicates that only certain tickets purchased through third-party sellers have to be printed before traveling. If Alex purchased his ticket directly and can demonstrate that payment was made, that distinction becomes important. But the biggest point the officer seems to overlook is what Alex is actually doing at the station. He is not trying to avoid paying, conceal anything, or walk away without resolving the issue. He is standing beside a ticket machine and is willing to print the ticket immediately in front of them. Whatever the original problem may have been, his actions suggest an attempt to resolve it rather than an attempt to deceive anyone. Yet instead of taking that practical option, the situation continues to move forward as though the existence of a rule automatically settles the matter.
Point. I take your point.
Yeah.
All I would say is that, anybody can have a policy. Anybody can make a rule. Yeah? Doesn't mean it's a criminal offence, doesn't mean it's a civil offence. I don't believe I've committed an offence. I mean, they may think I've broken their procedures and policies, that's fine. I don't believe I've committed any offence because I've paid money for a ticket to travel and I can prove that.
Yeah,
so where is my offence?
No, but you have got your ticket, but you've not printed the said ticket
so
off.
Where's my civil or criminal offence?
But you should have printed it off before you
Well,
travelled.
you could say you've got to stand on... Sorry to interrupt.
No, it does say, obviously, on the train stations and on the trains, that you have to have your ticket ready to present to these guys. And if you have it on the phone, which is the actual ticket,
and I
yours
it.
isn't the actual ticket. Yours is proof to say you've purchased a ticket, but you've not yet you've not yet printed that said ticket
I see what you're saying, but my point is slightly different. My point is that what's happened, you could have a rule on the terms and conditions on Merseyrail saying everybody on the train has to stand on one leg, and everybody would have to stand on one leg, and you could threaten people if they didn't stand on one leg.
Alex makes an important distinction here. Failing to follow a company's rule is not automatically the same thing as committing a criminal offense. The requirement being discussed is about having the correct ticket documentation, while Alex maintains that the fare itself has already been paid and that he can demonstrate the purchase with the booking reference and even produce a printed copy at the machine beside him. The point he is making is that Muri Rail's conditions are a matter of its own rules and requirements, not something that automatically becomes criminal law simply because the company includes it in its terms. His comparison about being told to stand on one leg drives that point home by showing how unreasonable it would be to treat every private rule as though it carried the same authority as legislation. A company can establish conditions for its services, but that does not by itself turn those conditions into laws that police officers can enforce as criminal offenses. And that is what makes this exchange so revealing. Alex keeps bringing the conversation back to what he has actually done and what he can prove, while the response from the other side increasingly focuses on enforcing the company's requirements rather than resolving the situation in the most straightforward way.
But it's not breaking the law if people don't do it, they're breaking your rules. And that's the difference I'm trying to get across to you.
This is fair bylaws, that it is a ticket theory, which we do have to have a said ticket to come onto the station, and for as soon as you board the train, you should have a ticket of travel, unless your train station is closed and then you've taken a picture to say it's closed. Come to these guys and they will sell you a ticket.
It's often closed, it's often nobody there, and then it would be fine.
But you've purchased your ticket already, but unfortunately, because you haven't printed it off, you should have printed it off before you travelled.
So my point to you again is that I've looked at the bylaws, and I may be wrong, but I've read the bylaws, and my understanding of the bylaws is that they say, if you break these bylaws, you may be taken to court. And if you're taken to court, and it can be shown that there's an intent to defraud, you may be prosecuted. Now, I can show there was no intent to defraud. So if we go to court, it's all going to be very annoying for me, very embarrassing for Merseyrail, but I can show there was no intent to defraud, so I don't believe that I'm in any kind of situation where I've broken these bylaws.
Alex presses the point further, focusing on what he says the officer has misunderstood about the railway bylaw. He is referring specifically to Bylaw 18 of the Railway Bylaws 2005, which deals with traveling without a ticket in a non-compulsory ticket area. The important part of that provision, as Alex points out, is the requirement for an intent to avoid payment. In other words, the issue is not simply whether someone has failed to present the required ticket. There also has to be a deliberate attempt to avoid paying the fare. That distinction matters here because Alex is not claiming that he never purchased a ticket. He is producing evidence that the fare was already paid and is even prepared to print the ticket at the station. There is no indication in the situation presented that he was attempting to defraud the railway or deliberately evade the fare. His argument is therefore that the circumstances do not fit the conduct the bylaw is intended to address. The exchange highlights a fundamental question. If payment has already been made and the passenger is willing to prove it, can the absence of a printed ticket alone establish the criminal element being relied upon here?
So the train line tickets, as you said rightly, you have to print out the tickets. If it's not printed out, it's not valid to travel on the train.
I know this is what the lady said to me.
Yeah, it's not valid on the train.
And what I'm saying is I paid for a
ticket. Can I just explain to you?
Yes.
What happened is sometimes people buy train line tickets.
Yes.
They don't print it. They do the journey. They complete the journey.
Yes.
What happens is they get refunded.
Well, that would be terrible.
They get refunded.
That would be terrible.
Okay,
Yeah.
So some people does that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying you do.
No.
Your intention to do that.
Well, specifically,
on these occasions.
Specifically, I asked these people
Right.
to let me go just over there,
Okay.
to print the ticket,
Yeah.
and they would see I'd printed the
Right,
ticket,
okay.
and they would know that it had
their
been paid.
understanding would be
So
if
it's not
they
a problem.
went here, you
Yeah.
would have done the journey,
Well,
and you got the refunded as well from
But
the
of
train
course
line.
they're always
which
here. I
some
mean,
people does that.
The PCSO's reasoning becomes increasingly difficult to follow because it appears to rely on something Alex could supposedly have done rather than what he actually did. The suggestion seems to be that without their presence, Alex might have acted dishonestly, but a hypothetical possibility is not evidence of an offense. Policing cannot simply be based on assumptions about what someone may have intended to do in an imagined situation. In this case, Alex had already shown that he was prepared to print the ticket immediately, using the machine right beside him, while also maintaining that the fare had already been paid. That behavior is difficult to reconcile with the idea that he was deliberately trying to cheat the railway. In fact, the argument seems to undermine itself. If Alex's objective had genuinely been to evade payment, voluntarily standing beside the ticket machine and insisting on producing proof of an existing purchase would make very little sense. The focus therefore shifts from something Alex actually did to what the PCSO believes he might have done, and that is a very different basis for accusing someone of wrongdoing.
Okay.
You can deal with them as a civil matter, as you said.
Yes.
Yeah. You can give your details to them.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
And if you don't, then the police get involved.
Yep.
Please get involved.
As
then
indeed
the
has
criminal
happened.
matter,
Yes.
where it's dealt as a ticket fraud.
Yeah, and that's what
Okay.
we're going to do.
Yeah,
Because I'm not giving these people my details. Because I've paid for a
So
ticket.
this is what's happening now.
There
So I hope you
cannot be
understand.
ticket fraud
Okay.
because I've paid for the ticket.
Well, that's not a valid ticket,
There's
sir.
no intention to defraud in law.
Well, we don't know because.
Well, I can prove it. I mean, I can show you the receipt and I can get it printed. There's no intention to
As I say,
defraud.
it's not valid.
Okay, well, you know, if we have...
reliably informed, that's not a valid ticket. It's
Okay.
a reference number for a ticket.
Well, I've had all
that
three of you
you
inform me that.
purchased. You should have
Yeah.
printed your ticket
So-
off before you travel.
So, can I just go and print the ticket off?
No, you should have done it before you travel.
Oh, I see.
You
So-
can't travel without
So
a
you're
valid
going to
ticket.
take me to court because you won't let me print a ticket.
Maisie
Okay, well,
Vale.
let's do it then.
There's
What do
your
we
Maisie
what do we do next?
Obviously, you need to provide your details to these people
I'm not
here.
going to.
Can I just like, is there a reason why you don't want
Yeah,
to?
because I don't believe they're empowered to take them, and I don't believe I have to give them to
They
them.
do have the power to take your details.
No, they don't.
They do. They are accredited.
The BTP officers then make another significant claim, arguing that the ticket inspectors were accredited and therefore had the legal power to demand Alex's personal details. Alex challenges that position because ticket inspectors are not police officers and their authority comes from the railway bylaws rather than general law enforcement powers. Under the argument being made here, those inspectors could request a passenger's name and address where they had reasonable grounds to believe the person had deliberately attempted to avoid paying the fare. But that is precisely what Alex disputes in this situation. He had already paid for the journey, had evidence of that payment, and was offering to print the ticket in front of them. Despite those circumstances, the officer appears to accept the inspector's version of their authority without independently establishing what powers they actually possessed. Instead of checking the basis for the demand, she relies on their claim and uses it as part of the pressure being placed on Alex. Supporting another agency is one thing. Simply accepting its interpretation of its own powers without question is another. And when that assumption becomes part of a police intervention, the consequences can be far more serious than the original dispute ever needed to be. What began as a disagreement over a ticket is now moving toward an enforcement situation, largely because the underlying assumptions have not been properly examined.
If I'm arrested, I will give my details to the arresting police officer when hearing the basis upon which I'm being arrested, because that will then be used in the court of law.
Right, at the moment, I do have a necessity because you're not failing to provide your details.
I will not provide my details until I'm arrested.
Yeah. Why would I want to arrest you?
Well, I don't want you to arrest me, but
I don't want to arrest you and take you to custody.
Yeah,
and
I really
you've
don't
got
want
a
that
meeting
either.
to get to.
I really don't want
I've
that.
still got things to do today,
I'm
obviously.
not going to be pressured into giving people my details. I have a right not to have the right to privacy. I will not give people my details and they're pressuring me to do that. I don't believe you have a right to take my details until you arrest me. If you arrest me, if there is a basis for you to arrest me, and you arrest me, and you tell me why I'm being arrested, I will of course comply and I will of course give my details.
Right.
But I will be arrested first before I give that information.
But then, what I'm going to say, if I arrest you, then I take it on a police matter.
Yeah.
Where you provide your details to them.
Yeah.
You fill a complaint form in. You're not happy because of the system. So why don't you write to me and explain to them?
We really need to change this system, and when this goes on social media, a lot of people are going to start talking about why the system needs to change, because it's broken. I can travel all around the country paying online using my phone.
Yes,
that's
but you
just
haven't
normal.
got the ticket.
I have
You
paid for a ticket,
but
and I
that's
can
just the
print that
reference
ticket
number.
just over there.
Yes, but you should have
And I can
printed the ticket before you travel.
And you're going to arrest me for that.
I am going to arrest you for failing to provide a valid ticket to travel, okay?
So you're going to
so
arrest me for
my
failing
necessity
to,
is
sorry, to, for
my
failing
necessity
to,
for
failing to
provide a valid
to
ticket for travel, which you don't have on your person. You have a reference number, so I will arrest you for the offence.
And you won't let me print that to show you that I have a ticket?
Because you've already passed the point where you could have printed the ticket
So you
off.
won't allow me to print the ticket?
Okay. Well, obviously when I've finished dealing with you, then you can go and print the ticket off. That's fine.
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to come to our office and we'll speak out the way?
Yeah.
And we'll take it from there.
Okay.
The decision to arrest Alex becomes the most difficult part of the entire encounter to justify. The officer accepts that he had already paid for the journey and acknowledges that he could print the ticket there at the station. Yet the position remains that the ticket is somehow invalid simply because it had not been printed before he traveled. That creates an obvious problem because the very issue being investigated could have been resolved within moments by confirming the payment and producing the ticket. Instead, the situation progresses into an arrest, despite Alex repeatedly offering the straightforward solution from the beginning. His later account makes the sequence look even more difficult to understand. The officers proceed through an arrest, an interview, and then his de-arrest, only for the matter to eventually end with them taking Alex to the ticket machine so he can print the document he had been offering to produce all along. The entire process therefore circles back to the solution that was available at the outset. What this demonstrates is the importance of discretion and proportionality when dealing with situations that could potentially be resolved without escalating them. Rather than taking the practical route, the response moves toward increasingly formal enforcement, leaving Alex to prove something he had already been willing to demonstrate from the start. His own response brings the argument full circle. He maintains that the fare had been paid, that there was never an intention to deceive anyone, and that he believed the case would have little chance of succeeding if it reached court. He also raises a further concern about the single justice procedure, suggesting that Mary Rail could have used that process to pursue a fine without the level of scrutiny he believed the matter deserved, and describing that activity as unlawful. Whether or not one agrees with every part of Alex's interpretation, his central criticism is clear. What began as a straightforward ticket dispute developed into a much more serious enforcement process, raising questions about how administrative rules are interpreted and how quickly a minor issue can escalate when nobody steps back to consider the practical circumstances. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure you like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to support the channel and keep these accountability discussions going. And I'll see you in the next one.